Hello, June 20th, 2026, in Indonesia, 8:47 p.m. The last train home. It was almost midnight, and the train station was nearly empty. Only a few lights remained on, casting long shadows across the platform. Ben sat alone on a wooden bench, checking his phone every few minutes. His train had been delayed for almost an hour, and he was starting to lose patience. He had spent the whole day in the city, attending a job interview that he was sure had gone badly. The interviewer question felt impossible, and Ben left the building feeling like a complete failure. Now, sitting alone in the cold night air, he just wanted to go home. A woman walked onto the platform and sat on the bench beside him. She looked around and she looked around his edge with a backpack and tired but friendly expression. Long night, she asked, noticing his exhausted face. Ben sighed. You could say that job interview, I think I ruined it. I'm sure it wasn't that bad, she said, smiling gently. Trust me, it was, Ben replied. I forgot half my answer, and at one point, I accidentally called the manager by the wrong name. The woman laughed, not in a mean way, but in a way that made Ben smile despite himself. Ben, he replied, shaking it. The woman laughed. My name's Clara, she said, extending her hand. Ben, he replied, shaking it. They began talking and somehow the conversation flowed easily. Clara explained that she had just finished visiting her grandmother, who lived 2 hours away by train. She talked about her grandmother's old house, filled with antique furniture and family photographs covering every wall. She tells the same stories every time I visit, Clara said, smiling. But somehow, I never get tired of hearing them. Ben found himself laughing for the first time that day. Talking to Clara made his earlier frustration feel less important. Suddenly, the lights on the platform flickered, and an, an, an announcement echoed, echoed through the speakers. We're sorry. We are sorry to inform passengers that tonight's train has been cancelled due to technical issue. The next available train will depart tomorrow morning. Ben groaned. Ted, just what I needed. Clara looked equally frustrated, but she quickly shrugged it off. Well, there's no point complaining about something we can't control. So what do we do now? So what do we do now? Ben asked. Clara smiled. There's a small diner a few blocks from here. It's open all night. We could wait there until morning instead of freezing on this platform. Ben hesitated for a moment, but the thought of sitting alone on a cold bench all night convinced him quickly. Sounds better than this. They walked together through the quiet streets, the city lights reflecting softly on the wet pavement. The diner Clara mentioned was small, warm, and smelled like fresh coffee and pancakes. They sat by the window, ordering hot drinks to warm their hands. As the night went on, Ben and Clara continued talking about childhood memories, favorite movies, and embarrassing a story from school. Ben realized that the disappointment from his interview had faded into the background of an unexpectedly enjoyable night. You know, Ben said, this is probably the best bed day I ever had. Clara laughed. Sometimes the worst plans lead to best memories. Clara laughed. Sometime around 5 in the morning, the sun started to rise, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. They walked back to the station just as the first train of the day arrived. Before boarding, Clara turned to Ben. Hey, if your interview really did go badly, you know what that means, right? What? Ben asked. It means something better is probably waiting for you, she said with confident smile. Ben smiled back. Maybe meeting you tonight was the better thing. Clara laughed and shook her head smooth. Shook her head. Smooth. Very, very smooth. They exchanged phone numbers before parting ways at the platform, each heading toward a different train. As Ben sat down for his ride home, he looked out the window, watching the early morning light spread across the city. He didn't get the job a week later, but strangely, he didn't feel disappointed at all, because sometimes one unexpected night can completely change how you see a bad day. Thank you.